Following an offseason where the Phoenix Suns traded for another All-NBA player in Bradley Beal to pair alongside Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, you would think that the Suns would instantly rise to the top of the Western Conference and the team would be considered favorites to win the NBA title. However, there were still a number of questions surrounding the Suns' depth and defensive capabilities going into the season, especially with how loaded the Western Conference is. This was not aided when early in the season, none of their big three could stay healthy, and they dropped down to around 8th or 9th in the Western Conference at times throughout early in the season. And there was a lot of questions and speculation about whether this team was even a playoff team and if they had enough pieces to get into a deep playoff run or even get into a high seed at all. And there was a lot of questions surrounding guys like Grayson Allen and Jusuf Nurkic and whether they could step up and be the depth pieces that the Suns really needed to compete, because in today's NBA, there's a lot of teams that have multiple stars. You look at Luka and Kyrie in Dallas. You look at LeBron and Anthony Davis in LA. You look at Kawhi and Paul George on the other LA team with the Clippers. And all of these teams have depth pieces outside of their big-time stars to really complement what they're doing with their main players. But the Suns didn't really seem to have that. And throughout the early part of the season, they were not really looked at as heavy contenders and favorites to win the West. But as the season has gone on, there has been an emergence in Jusuf Nurkic's and Grayson Allen's performance throughout the season. And even if you look at the game that they had yesterday, where Devin Booker dropped 52 points on 68% shooting with 9 assists on New Orleans, and they ended up winning, you had a 19-point, 19-rebound game from Jusuf Nurkic, who has stepped up in the big man role to be a really reliable rebounder and has become one of the best rebounders in the entire NBA and has become a post threat as well. And he can easily give you anywhere between 17 and 20 points and 10 to 12 rebounds on a nightly basis. This team has gone from a team loaded with speculation and a lot of questions concerning how legitimate of contenders they really were to being a team that, while they are in 7th place in the Western Conference right now, they are still a top contender to upset any team, especially if they go against a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round, who have really suffered due to the loss of Karl-Anthony Towns for the season. And if they match up against Minnesota in the first round as a lower seed, there's still a very good chance that they could upset this team in Minnesota and move on to the second round. And after that, it is all up in the air after that, because anyone can upset anyone past the first round. So looking at this team, obviously there is a defensive aspect that is lacking at times with the Suns roster, with Kevin Durant, Booker, and Bradley Beal not being elite defenders or even considered to be above average. But when you have two guys scoring at 27.5 points per game averages in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and then you have a guy in Bradley Beal who can give you 30 on any given night and has averaged 30 before in the NBA, you're always going to be in a game. And players like Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, and Jusuf Nurkic have really stepped up for this team to provide depth scoring and depth just production throughout this season, because Grayson Allen is averaging 13.4 points a game, Eric Gordon's averaging 11.5 points a game, and Jusuf Nurkic is averaging 11.3 points and 11 rebounds a game. And when you have these other guys stepping up on a night-to-night basis and really providing production when the top stars are maybe out of the lineup or not on their A game, it really takes a load off these top stars like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker to really be able to shine in their own individual aspects. And it makes the Suns a much more dangerous and deeper team going into the playoffs. And it's players like an Eric Gordon or Grayson Allen or Jusuf Nurkic. They're going to provide a lot of a spark in a playoff series against maybe the Dallas Mavericks, because Dallas is considered to be in the same kind of predicament as the Suns were at the beginning of the season, where Dallas doesn't have a lot of depth scoring. And obviously when you have Luka and Kyrie, you're going to be in any game and you're going to be able to just outscore teams because they're Luka and Kyrie and they're both averaging 25 points per game plus throughout the season. And Luka is one of the best players in the league. But if they run into the Phoenix Suns in the second round of the playoffs, they're going to have to obviously guard Kevin Durant. You're going to have to guard Bradley Beal. You're going to have to guard Devin Booker, who are all guys who can average 30 in the league. And then it's going to be the bench production and depth production of the team, both teams, to be able to step up, and whichever team has the better depth, scoring, and production will win the series, because the top 2 to 3 players on most of the top seeds in the West can go head-to-head with each other on a nightly basis in a 7-game series. But it's really the bench production what is going to decide who wins the series and who wins in clutch moments in a Game 7 of a playoff series. Obviously, the stars are what makes this team go. Without Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, this team would not be in the place that they are. But I think that this team is a very big championship contender, especially with the depth production that they've gotten from outside sources outside of KD, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. And I think that this team could easily make a Western Conference Finals appearance and could even upset the Nuggets at some point to make an NBA Finals. This team was in the NBA Finals only a few short years ago in 2021 and went to Game 6 against the eventual champions in Milwaukee. And while there's only one guy left from that team in Devin Booker, this team still is almost better than that team in 2021 was. And I think that they could easily go to the finals again and make some noise in the Western Conference playoffs at the very least. So it's going to be interesting to see who their first round matchup is. And if they are matched up with Denver, that will be an instant classic of a series in the first round. But hopefully, as a pure basketball fan, if they were to make a run, I would love to see the Denver Nuggets match up with Phoenix later on in the playoffs, in the second round at the very earliest, and possibly the Western Conference Finals, because that would be an incredible Western Conference Final to watch as a basketball fan who has no allegiance to either team, because of the absolute star power that would be unfolding right in front of us in the Western Conference Finals. And I think that this team has what it takes to make that Western Conference Finals and even to knock off a team as good as Denver, who won a championship last season. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. God bless you all. I hope you have an amazing day. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so we can hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of April. God bless.